means we're live. Thank you guys for joining us. Welcome to OreAni. Today we're doing the end of the winter 2021 lineup. And I gotta say, this season was great. With us, we have. Alright, I guess I should click on that. We have Albert with us today.
Hello.
We have Vinny.
Thanks for having me.
We have Jessica. Hello. And then we have Anzi, a new person with us today. Thank you for joining us, Anzi.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, Pikachu, or Sean.
Pika Pika. Pikachu.
So today we're going to talk about the show of the winter season, you know, what everyone's loved, what everyone's hated, and of course, you know, the show that everyone loves to hate. Redo of a hero, or healer, sorry, not hero, healer. And it just so happens that, you know, all of us love this show.
I call for a vote of no confidence in our MC.
I second that.
Oh man. Well, you know, if I would have finished watching it, I think I would have loved it. Maybe, I don't know. How far did everyone get?
2 episodes.
I ended up watching up to 4.
I
Wow.
watched
I think
the whole
2?
thing.
Oh wow, Albert.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, you did watch the whole? What?
Yeah, I finished it.
I'm looking.
I think I might have, if I had the fast forward button, I would have used it. So it was just on the background sometimes, but I did finish it.
I only got to episode 5.
I think, okay. Can't remember what happened in 5, but.
I'm second place then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, everyone knows that this, this is, surprisingly not isekai, but fantasy. Not very controversial for essentially it's revenge porn, the anime. Also very graphic, and I have always called this the softcore of, compared to hentai, right? That was hentai was full X-rated, then redo of the healer is like softcore, late night HBO or Cinemax, Skimmax type shows. So yes, and episode 2 was the one where everyone was aghast because if you didn't know what the story was going to be, if you watched the uncensored version, you got the full treatment of torture, rape, and abuse, and let's see, anything else? A bunch of other stuff, right? So not great. And episode 2 is not like the worst content, at least when I read
What? It gets worse?
Yeah, it gets worse. But that episode ended up being really disjointed, did not make, not that this story makes any sense, because he's redoing his entire life, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if you know what's coming to you, couldn't you have planned something different rather than I'm going to go through and do the exact same thing as I did before, so that I'm still abused,
I'm gonna
enslaved,
live in a prison and get serially gang raped like for 6 months or something. It's kind of nuts that he would subject himself to that again.
Yeah, so it really makes no sense, but never mind that part. Yes, it does get worse than episode 2. And the problem is, I guess somewhere, I watched episode 2 and it was incredible in some ways, as I said, because this got greenlit someone read the original stuff and greenlit the project, and they're in full glory. Not full glory because it's like I said, softcore. Um, was this very controversial episode airing? And so I'm like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen with what I thought was one of the worst sequence of events later. I think it's around episode 5 or 6. And then there's another one that's for later than episode 10 or 11, somewhere around there. So morbid curiosity uh, just wanted to know how far they would push it, and they really didn't. It seemed like they chickened out at some point. So episode 5 or 6 or whatever, where this huge revenge plot, he screws up his plot, and a lot of people that he cared for ends up dying, and all he can think
He
about
cares
is,
for people.
not, yeah, that there's some questionable things about that too. So
Okay.
anyway, that whole sequence of events was kind of really screwed up. They really screwed up the dialogue. They really screwed up the sequence of events. So it just seems like he's incompetent, which he is, but it just makes it worse, right? So that was like, oh, this is not very good. I guess they lost their gumption to do something about it. I don't know. And other than that, it's pretty much every episode there's some sort of massive fan service orgy thing that goes on, and then there's some sort of revenge thing that goes on, and a loose plot structure that has them traveling from town and trying to gain allies to solve, ultimately to have revenge be decided on the entire kingdom. And yeah, the kingdom is just awful. All the heroes are awful. Everyone except he is awful. So he thinks, but he's really awful too. So no one is a hero in the show. Everyone is an anti-hero. So yeah, if you're at all interested in how bad, you could just go for the juicy bits. Someone's put together something, I'm sure, so you could go look for that. And again, there's a very censored and nonsensical version, and then there's the uncensored version. So look for uncensored or ATX or whatever. But the story doesn't actually conclude. it it stops kind of in the middle of this overarching quest, if you can call it that. And yeah, I don't actually know what happens after because I only read the manga. I don't actually know if the entire story is finished in the light novel, web novel format or not. But yeah, this ended up in the category of very, very strange. It's like Ishizoku reviewers, but without the balls to pull it off. So overall, cannot recommend. I think like on now it's got 6.3, which is higher than I thought it would be. So yes.
Imagine liking this thing. I saw a couple episodes. I don't know. It's the single most deranged TV anime I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I've watched.
TV anime.
Yeah, I mean, in another world, it would just be an OVA that's kind of obscure, and just like some hentai thing, and you're like, whatever, it's a hentai OVA. But this thing like played on television.
I know. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Is that the light novels were not localized over here because of the content, and then we've got High Dive that's like, oh yeah, we can totally stream this. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Hot Dive's like, no one watches our stuff anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
That's why they got Peter Grill and stuff too.
This is the kind
Yeah,
of
but they have
title.
Legend of Galactic Heroes. High Dive is great for classic anime.
Um, this show actually made me think of remember me of a show called My Wife is the Student Council President
Oh, I remember that one.
because of the censorship. Because like when they did the censorship in that show, they actually cut to a total new scene and just had a whole new dialogue and everything. But if you watch the uncensored version, it's not as bad as Redo the Hero, but Healer, but it is a little graphic, and that's the only reason why it reminded me of that. It's just how they did the censorship.
Oh, that's funny because I remember it being pretty tame, so I must have seen the censored version and I didn't even notice.
No, if you saw a tame thing, then you probably saw the uncensored, because the censored one is even pulled back even further. Because like I said, they completely replaced the whole scene, with
Huh.
where you don't even see any body parts or anything like that.
That's a lot of care for that series.
Yeah. Then again, it was I think they were shorts. It was a shorts show as well, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like
3-5 minutes or something.
yeah. But
Does
yeah.
every story arc in this thing end in some sort of cathartic rape?
Yeah, I think so. No, actually, one of them it becomes the was that the sword tank girl that he gave the arm back, originally healed the arm back.
Yeah.
In episode 1, she's more like willing, although she's I think she was drugged at the time with an aphrodisiac.
Okay.
So,
So it's
she
kind of a
yeah.
date rape then.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, it's not just the content that makes it, or it's not that it's sexy or something, because you could just watch Ishizoku reviewers. But when it comes to that show, it's, even though it's like kind of racist, kind of sexist, kind of exotifying, but the sex in it is arguably consensual. Where this thing is just rape, revenge, fantasy. It is dark. Like
Mhm.
I saw episode 2 last night, and then I'm like, I can't believe I have to sleep on this. That I have to like go to bed having just watched this thing, because it is really, really dark.
I couldn't sleep after I saw episode 2. It really bothered me on a fundamental level. And that's saying something for it being a cartoon. Yeah.
Did it make you guys be like Goblin Slayer episode 1 wasn't that bad? I guess.
Actually, kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Remember all the heat it got just for that one little scene?
Well, I would have to argue that it's the way it's framed is why this is so much worse. Is because this is like they deserve it kind of a thing. Whereas in Goblin Slayer, it was treated as, oh, this is a horrible thing that happens to these ladies. But in here, it's like they had it coming, and that's why it was so disturbing. At least more so than Goblin Slayer.
Yeah, this had me thinking that, like, at least by the first 2 episodes that I saw, this is like the most extreme form of like anime power trip thing, where you have like a super capable main character and gives some villain his comeuppance. Except this is that taken to its logical extreme, where it's just like incredibly deranged. I'm going to take everything from this person. I'm gonna break all her fingers and then rape her up and down, and then take away her identity with magic spells, and it's just, I don't know, it's really, really icky. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know how popular it is in Japan, but I'm somewhat surprised that this even got greenlit right to be animated, really.
I just hope that the author's on some kind of watch list.
think he's gonna turn up in like a wielding a knife and start stabbing someone?
I don't know, man. If this kind of story just a good person would not write this kind of story. Let me put it that way.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's change this. Let's do a whole 180. Let's talk about non Briori nonstop.
Yeah, that
Nice.
is 180. Very nice.
We need some healing now. Heal us.
Redo
Wait,
the
am I the
healing.
only one that watched it?
It looks like Vinny did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you like Non Non Biori, season 1, season 2, and the movie, you're going to still enjoy Non Non Biori season 3.
They had a
And
movie.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they had a movie. Well, it's a continuation after
Season 1.
I think the first
Yeah.
season where the brother wins that trip, and so it's the entire trip to Okinawa. They cover Okinawa, so it's really good. I highly recommend it. But yeah, it's the daily going on of the four main girls, but this season they introduce uh, a lot of the other girls. The supporting girls also get a lot of spotlight, and there are two new girls that are introduced. Who one is a Shiori-chan is a year younger than Ren-chan and is the local constable policeman's daughter. She gets lost, and Ren-chan finds her, and gets her home, and that's how their friendship kind of starts. And Ren-chan is really happy because the Shiori calls her One-chan, right, big sister, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm I have responsibilities now." And it's just really cute and fun. And then the other one is Akane, who is junior to one of the oldest girls, Konomi. Wait, yeah,
Yeah.
who's in high school, and she also gets a lot more spotlight because of their relationship in school and their relationship in the concert. No, wait, orchestra? No, wind. I think it's wind ensemble
Yeah.
club. So yeah, it's just really interesting. Now, the way it's structured is also interesting because season 2 was called Repeat, and as you expect, it might not have expected at the beginning, but the entire season is a interspersed repeat of the first season. So they go in, between. It's the same 1 year that after after Hotaru arrives and the new school year starts. So it covers the entire year again. This time, however, time does move forward. It's called nonstop, not because you want to continue things, but because time does move on in this, and it ends, and the season ends with the brother Oni-chan actually graduating from middle school. There are 5 student middle school. Although he still does not have a speaking part, which is hilarious. And yeah, Shiori-chan joins as a first grader, and time does move on, and in that sense, it's nonstop because time isn't stopping for them; it continues on. And I'm really sad that this is the last season. So I'm still hoping for maybe an OVA or another movie or something, because there were episodes that were not adapted. But as far as seasons go, this is the end. So, but it's really good. I really, really like it. It is not it's pure slice of life and cute girl doing cute things, but it's just wholesome, and it's the idyllic country life that people imagine. Uh, it's not anywhere real. It's a mishmash and conglomeration of all the inaka, the countryside of Japan, but it's just really good. So I highly recommend it.
Um,
Any
Yep. Yeah, I
any
mean,
thoughts?
Albert pretty much covers all the bases on that series. I was just happy to see this coming into third season. I wasn't expecting it after a long gap in between the second and third. And the scenery is as breathtaking as before. So it's one of those you can kind of kick back and just don't have to think and just enjoy the scene. Not for nothing. There's no dialogues or anything going. You can always take a look at all the sceneries they captured. And oh yeah, and this is like one of those series that makes me want to go buy the Nendoroid. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
so my question would be, is it is there still, since it continues ongoing, do you need to watch the first few series to understand who's who and the personalities to enjoy this, or can you just start with this and still enjoy it?
Uh, I think it's possible, but you know, it's hard to recommend it that way. Also, you can watch the first or the second season, and it's still good. I mean, the art and the animation for this kind of uh, series doesn't need to be leaps and bounds. You don't need cool 3D CG effects. You don't need um, flashy animations with special effects. So it still holds up. In fact, before this one, I watched the movie not too long ago, which was in 2018, I guess. Yeah, 2018. And I also watched a few of the older episodes, and it's fine. It's still good. So just watch the first or the second season. Um, I think you'll get a lot more out of it.
Also, if you watch the first three episodes of the first season, that pretty much laid the all the needed storyline for all the characters. So if you kind of want to skip ahead, you can watch those three episodes to get the feelings of what those characters are, and you can go to season three. But I think it would be better to just watch the whole either as season one or season two, then move on to season three, since season three actually does move ahead.
All right, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and let's see. What other? Anyone else have any questions, or should we go to the next tattoo?
Does every story arc end in a rape scene?
No.
Not unless you're checking out the content.
Can't be anime of the year then.
I'm sorry, I was looking for the title card for this, but I don't see it.
Oh, just go to it.
Okay.
You're creating
So,
dead space.
sorry. I guess we're going to talk about the quintuplet show. Go Tsubun no Hanayome, right?
What?
What's the actual full? What's the quint
Quintessential quintuplet.
two? Yeah. So
Oh,
I actually was like, this is a show I remember back in the day watching. This is gonna be awesome. I can watch the second season and be on par with a bunch of the crew that are a few of my friends on Twitch. And then when I went to Crunchyroll, I was like, "Oh, you never finished the series." I was like, "Oh, dang it!" I had to go back, and I think I was like 4 episodes away from the ending. But after finishing that and going on to the next season, I got all the way up to basically the last episode. I never saw the last episode, but I really enjoyed it. It's changed a lot from how it started, and um, it I didn't know what to expect. I'm not one of the people that was on board with the manga or anything like that. So I know a lot of people that did watch this tend to have read the manga, so they're excited about seeing certain scenes, certain things that happened. Um, I believe Anzi, right? You read the manga and everything, and you
Yeah,
followed the show a lot.
yeah. It's one of my favorite. Like this can be considered a harem sort of anime series manga, and I actually really enjoyed it. You know that I love these girls, and I agree with you. It changed a lot from season one to season two in terms of um, style, how it was like all the art style. It changed a lot, and which was one of the big complaints from the community at first. But seems like in the end they grew and they ended up accepting it. Because honestly, what this show is about is the story. And even though I don't really get the community in that regard, because I really love the new style. It's more simple, I guess, but it's more colorful, and I feel like that's the biggest uh, point in here regarding the story. Um, it's well done adaptation from the anime, from the manga to the anime. It follows the exact same story as it is now, because from what I know, the whole story they're gonna change the ending from the actual ending on the manga. So I don't know. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And until this point, season two, they're following the same path.
So for people who don't know what this show is, it starts off with these quintuplets, and they just so happen to be stupid when it comes to school. They're all failing. They all have school problems, but they also have problems with authority. I would say because they don't like, the teachers can't help them. Every time they get a tutor, they somehow get them to quit and stuff. And so this boy ends up getting hired for the job, and he's from a pretty poor family, and he desperately needs this job, so he fights hard, or teeth and nail for to keep this job and to do what he needs to do to ensure that he can help these girls. And so the whole first season is just them and him trying to get accepted to be the teacher and to also see what their problems are. And then by the end of it, you kind of get that there's this somewhat love story going on where he's met one of them before, but he doesn't know which one, and that there's kind of a romance thing going there when he was a child. And now the second season focuses more on this romantic aspect rather than how we started at the beginning. And it actually gets a little more complicated because at first I believe it was just like maybe one or two girls that maybe might have liked him, and now we got more and more as they get to know him and learn things that they're each, falling in love with him in their own certain way. And as the girls kind of start accepting it and realizing what's going on with their feelings, it actually somewhat gets a little brutal with
Yeah.
some of them. And it's, I don't know how to explain it, but it was very intriguing for me to watch how it's changed so much, especially with one of the characters. Because like one of the characters at the very beginning, she's changed a lot, and unfortunately I can't tell you the name because I get them all mixed up. Because there's their names and their styles.
Yeah,
No,
the one who had the biggest change in terms of personality was Nino.
you know.
Yeah, and she was the one who hated him the most at the start of the series. And well, uh, things happen,
Yeah,
and yeah, like everyone ends up failing for him, right?
yeah.
That's the whole point of the anime.
So like,
And mm,
so like season one I think was just setting everything up, getting him to get them to accept him, and now season two is everyone uh, warming up to him and realizing their feelings. So at the end of it, it looks like there's probably going to be another season because all of them now have accepted what they feel and have now confronted each other about it.
Okay, so who is best girl?
Which one?
oh my, okay,
Yeah.
mine. Okay, I have said this before. To me, I love all of them. I love the five of them. All right.
So you're going for the
But
harem ending. All right.
if I had to choose one, it would be Miku.
Yeah, I
She's
admit.
very popular from what I've heard.
Yeah, Miku is. She's actually the very first one to be more accepting of him.
Yeah,
So I think that's why people are a little more on board with her. And plus, her personality is very timid and, you know,
yeah. To me, it's more about the personality.
she's like that girl I gotta protect kind of vibe. While all the others are pretty much stronger with their personalities. So, um, the only other one I think is, I don't know what's her name. What's the girl that's like a model? Is that
It's
be
Ichika.
The
huh?
oldest one?
Ichika.
Ichika? There's this one girl.
Mm.
She's like a model, and I think I kind of want to say I like her second, but after watching what I've seen her with her personality, I'm kind of whoa now, because
Yeah,
she came off very different at the very beginning, but now that she has like a clear goal, it's kind of crazy what she's doing to get her goal,
Mm.
and they do a lot of these really weird things in the show, and they've done it a lot in the beginning, but they're doing it more so in the second half where they actually try to dress as each other and try to trick people or mainly trick
mm.
him.
But I don't like because also at some point everyone in the series tries to disguise as other girl, right? It's just that in her case, it's with the bigger objective in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like answering to Vinny's question, at some point he does give up, but the girls end up trying, like looking for him. They look for him because they actually enjoyed his company, and they didn't let him go.
I forgot why he gave up. I can't remember.
It was because the dad, the original contract with the girl's dad was they have to pass the finals, and if they don't, they're gonna change school again. And so what happens is they actually passed the exam, but he didn't. I don't. I'm not sure if he didn't have a faith in them passing the exam, but he was like, "All right, my duty here is done, and it's up to you guys to pass your exam."
Yeah. But if you don't like dense protagonist, he is somewhat dense. Not as bad as some other ones, but sometimes he irritates me with
Yeah.
how he acts and thinks of things. But I can't. I need to watch the last episode because I don't know how far they got. But they did do a huge reveal. I think second to the last episode about the girl in the picture, but I didn't see how that concluded. So, but I'm kind of excited to watch that. But I mean, I don't know why I haven't watched it, but I would say if you're into rom coms, um, this one's okay. It's decent. You got a decent variety of characters to choose from because even though they're quintuplets, they all look the same and everything in some way. They're very different from each other, and even their you know it shows a lot in a lot of the things they do. Like one's really good at math, while everyone else sucks. The other one's good at history, while the others suck. So like they all have their strong points and everything. So it's kind of funny how they portray that. Like he even took all their tests and when he added all their scores together, they made 100%. So it's kind of fun to see some of that stuff like that. But when it got to the romantic section of it, I wasn't too put off by it. I was actually kind of more interested in seeing how these girls would fight for him, and I would say that was one of the biggest surprises for me too, because like seeing how they changed to uh, go for him. Like I said, what was that girl name? Mitsuki.
Yeah,
It's
the youngest is
I don't know. I can't. Oh, I forget their names.
its youngest is Itsuki.
Yeah,
Man,
it's Itsuki.
she freaks me out. The idol girl.
Oh, the idol girl is actually the oldest.
Oh yeah, yeah, her. I don't know. She freaks me out a lot. But
Yeah.
I kind of. I don't know. Would you recommend it? You guys?
I
Vinny?
personally recommend it if you like romance stuff.
I didn't watch it fully, but I think the problem with this harem rom-com genre is that once it kind of you get through the initial premises, it kind of tends to get stale, and either they have to come up with something new or follow the traditional route of a predictable, train of thoughts, or sometimes it just kind of goes off the rail altogether. So to me, characters are nice and all, but it's not something I'll say people's gonna remember for a long time. It's
From
gonna be one of
I'm sorry, but like from what I've seen, and I think what they even teased, which is somewhat different from some harem animes, I think. So I think he does make a choice
Yeah.
rather than it always being left ambiguous. Like he never chooses a girl or he chooses all of them. I
what
think
Yeah.
was the series a couple seasons years ago from Chat that kind of did this whole he can make up his mind for a long, long time, drove everybody crazy.
I'm actually talking about the quintuplets. This season, there also was a game about them that came out for PS5, I think.
What?
there was a game, and it's a visual novel. Uh, yeah, it's like side story. I'm not even sure because I haven't played it. Um, but I think it doesn't follow the. It's extra story. It doesn't follow the manga, so you won't be missing on much if you don't play it. But there was also a game.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, Nick's gotta watch it and play it. Doesn't he play all the games and animes? Or do they have to be some kind of gotcha card game? I forget.
Oh,
I think it's got to be a gotcha card game.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Let's do this Wander Egg Priority. I only saw the first episode. I don't know. I felt like it was cool. I felt it looked interesting, but I just couldn't get myself into it.
I needed to get to episode 3 before I was convinced that it's worth watching. And then I watched the rest of it. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those shows that tries to do a lot but doesn't quite succeed. It bites off more than it can chew. It's kind of like a thinking man's Madoka Magica or something, where it's like a dark magical girl show, but it seems to deal with like some pretty dark issues like abuse, suicide, and it does it in like a good faith way. But I feel like for 12 episodes, it has like 24 episodes of ideas, but they try to smash that down into 12, and that's kind of where most of my issues with the show are. For example, like the premise is like these magical girls kind of like enter these dream spaces, and then it's kind of this weird ghost story where like these dead girls, they've committed suicide, they come back, and then they have to like survive this nightmare land, and then somewhere in the nightmare land there's this like monster that represents an abuser. So there's kind of like this victim and abuser thing happening, this like little scenario. And I feel like the show leans on that a little too much, because the victims tend not to be very fleshed out, and then the abusers are just basically like cartoon villains. Like, so they don't have a lot of impact. For example, there's an episode where one of the lead magical girls is dealing with like family issues, and then she enters the dream world and tries to help this victim survive the abuser. And it turns out the abuser is a cult leader who led a death cult and, sort of led the victim to her death, like through this cult. And then the main character starts entertaining the cult leader's ideas and starts getting wrapped up in them. And that sounds like an interesting episode, right? But it all happens in this time span of like 5 minutes. So that's like not enough time for it to have that much impact. But I like the idea of Wonder Egg way more than I like the actuality of Wonder Egg. Like it throws out a lot of interesting ideas, but I wish it would flesh them out and sort of make arguments for those ideas like more like within the show itself.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up my opinion on Wonder Egg too, is that I feel that they spread themselves a little too thin, and that they should have focused on the core characters rather than all of this side nonsense, because in a Madoka magical world, we all know that the entity that's giving you the magic powers is probably going to be the villain. And so it was not shocking in the least that Akka and OreAni were, not the greatest. But also the way that all unfolded was, it just kind of was handed to the girls. So they didn't do anything to figure out, okay, what's the deal with these guys, or what's their motives and stuff. That just, they overheard a conversation, and then I goes to their house and he just sits down and tells her everything. And so it feels really unearned. I do really like the premise, though. I just think they either needed more episodes or they needed to trim down what they were doing, because I just don't feel that they're delving into these issues as much as they should. Because one of the girls was cutting herself, and I think this is the first anime I've ever seen where it talks about cutting and has one of the characters have to deal with that. But it's introduced in the episode, and then we never hear about it again.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess unearned is a good description of like the way in which the moments in which Wonder Egg fails is, is that yeah, it just feels kind of cheap and unearned, like at its worst. But I like the moments that take place out of Dream World because then they can't lean on those expedient, crutches.
Mm-hmm.
And then they really have to like flesh out these characters and they show their daily lives and I wish the show I don't know. I'm not sure how I would fix Wonder Egg, but yeah, either way.
And I think that's perfectly encapsulated in a scene where Akka and OreAni are trying to get the girls, oh, you got to do this, 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 and this, and then one of them gets a text saying, "Oh, I met this guy. I'm gonna go on a date," and the girls just immediately take off. And it's kind of the same way. Is that I found I was more invested in the girls themselves than any of the supernatural hijinks. And it's animated beautifully, though. So,
Mhm.
I mean, really, this looks movie quality. It's incredibly good in that department. And if it weren't, then I think that the dream sequences would have been really bogging down the entire show. But since they look pretty, I'm shallow. I don't care. I'll stare at the fireworks.
Yeah, it moves nice. If I recall correctly, it's made by some ex-QAni people. It kind of reminds me of what was that thing? Shutukoi Shunibyo Demo Koi Gashtai was the name of that anime. It's like if that was trying to do something for real and serious, then. But yeah, I like the way it looks. I don't like the monster designs that much. I like the way it looks outside of the dream world, but I don't like the way it looks in the dream world because the monsters are just like too obvious and stupid.
Yeah,
Very
is
Like
cartoony.
yeah, and
yeah, yeah.
even the CG gremlins that chase them around, they call them the See No Evils, and like this is obviously a like Japanese style systematic bowling metaphor. I'm just checking the box for that.
Yeah. No, the Madoka villains were much more layered, and they weren't on the nose, where you would have to pause the show and look at the design and then kind of figure out, okay, what is this trying to say? And then you might have an idea of who they were. But this is just, like you said, they're one-dimensional monsters, and you can kind of hand wave that away by saying that, well, in the eyes of the victims, these people and the things that they did probably do feel like one-dimensional monsters. Um, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in Wonder Egg. I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I like that they tried to do something serious within the magical girl genre, which I felt like for the past, basically ever since Madoka Magica, it's basically just turned into like Madoka Magica clones that aren't trying to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see this like last hurrah of like, okay, we're gonna make a this genre of anime, but with ambitions.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I haven't seen that since like I don't know Princess Tutu or something.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is the story isn't finished. They had production issues, which several other people have covered. But episode 8 should never been titled episode 8. It should have just been 7.5 because it's a complete recap. There's no 12 episodes. There's only 11 episodes, and they couldn't finish it. So the concluding story will be in a special sometime in June, I believe. So it really depends whether they can pull it off because pretty late in the series in episode 10, the twists start happening, and 11 is one gigantic exposition,
Mm-hmm.
and within that, you realize, for the longest time, I wasn't sure what exactly was dream and what exactly was in real life, because there's the there's a part of the dream world um, that is fantastical, but there appears to also be part of the dream world that's semi-grounded. And so when I follows the bug, the lightning bug, to the house underground and sees all these things, I was never sure if that was real or not. Turns out, um, it's made clear later, but I was never sure at the beginning. So there are hints about the story, but it doesn't really come full circle until pretty late. And then you're puzzled because instead of supernatural, it goes full sci-fi slash supernatural. So yeah, there's some pacing issues. Uh, I have really enjoyed the series overall, and I'm looking forward to finally finishing it in June when the last episode airs. And we'll see if they can wrap it up or not. But
Yeah,
it's certainly a worthy try, and I'm glad people are trying something different. But I'm also saddened that the production schedule just went haywire, and there are probably animators who are dying on the job. And yeah, it's that part was not great. I was really rooting for this original anime, and it's not it's not rising to the occasion. It's sinking under all the problems that other anime productions are facing. So kind of sad about that.
yeah. For me, I don't feel like production problems can like it doesn't really address like all the issues that I have with Wonder Egg, and I don't know like one concluding episode is not enough to like wrap up all the things that I want wrapped up in Wonder Egg.
No.
So I'm like prepared to have some sacred cows or whatever killed in the process of watching the last episode. It's like, oh, they never wrapped this up, they never wrapped that up. It's like, did they wrap up the thing with the main character I and the teacher, the, the creepy teacher? It's like I'm not sure what happened. Like I was incredibly disappointed by how he appeared as like this corny, villain in Dreamworld. It's like, oh, this is how we're gonna end this.
Yeah, I was really confused.
It's like, doesn't this character deserve more than just this cartoonized villain? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't figure out if okay that was the other eyes
Yeah, definitely the
experience,
other eyes, the parallel.
but I don't know. I'm still trying to get his motives in the normal eyes timeline. It's like yeah, that part was pretty confusing and jumbly to me. And
Yeah,
so that's another thing is that a lot of times I'd watch an episode and go, did I miss something? And so I'd rewatch it and go, no, it just went from this scene to that scene with no transition. And I don't it so I felt that the editing was a little bit on the rougher side of
No,
things.
I don't think it's necessarily the edit. I think it's the screenwriter. So, the screenwriter is he does mostly live action. This is his first anime, and I think there might be conflict between the writer and the director. And the director has had to cover some shortfalls of the writer because it's a different genre. And as much as they are trying to keep it close to something that you might be able to do in real life, I don't think it's transitioning well to the anime uh, medium. So I think there are issues there. There are issues with the production. There's issues with other things. So pretty much comes down to whether the wrap up is going to, if it's good, then I'll be happy. If it's bad, I'm gonna be sad because
Yeah.
I've put a lot of effort in watching this. I've watched some episodes twice because I thought I missed things, like Jessica said. I went back and watched a few episodes here and there to try to see if there are hints that were laid out, foreshadowing. And it's a really interesting story, and there's a lot of things, but it's really, really dense, and it's just a little too much. So we'll see.
Just imagine the last episode's half recap.
Oh God! Don't say that.
That would be the ultimate troll. They put out this OVA like months later and it's a recap.
So my question is, Anzi Vinny, how far did you guys get? Did you guys quit it, or you just didn't get time to finish it?
I didn't get to finish it, but this is the one year where I just randomly pick an episode to start instead of going from start the first episode. And I think I picked episode 3 to start and thought it was interesting and kept going. Just that I got sidetracked and never finished it far enough to talk about it.
I left it, but I am looking forward to finishing it. I was watching it with a person, with a friend, and she didn't have enough time, so there's some pause at the moment.
I thought
I mean,
you
to the show's credit, it's not boring.
Mm-mm.
No, it's not.
There's just a lot going on, and like sometimes I wish there was like something solid that I could sink my teeth into, but the show only gives you that every once in a while. Like I think like what was that? Rika, like her storyline was mostly like well fleshed out between like her and her mom. Like there were some parts
Yeah.
that were kind of like brisk and cheap, but I felt like I got most of what I wanted out of it.
I thought so, and I really enjoyed Momoe's story arc. Um, she's the tall, very boyish, androgynous,
Hmm.
and her episode was, I think, episode 10. Um, I thought that was a really strong one, and then things went kind of sideways. But yeah, I actually like her stories and the things that involve her viewpoints. Her identity and how others looked at her, and her internal identity, and some of the girls that she meets and their trauma. So yeah,
I
again,
agree. Momo is my favorite too. Is her episodes tend to be pretty strong.
and very also very horrific in many ways. So
Yeah.
Or with the I don't remember her name, but like the science girl.
Oh,
I felt like
Nehru.
if you wanted to reduce Wonder Egg down to like something simpler, you probably could have lobbed off that entire character because there's just way too much going on with that character than they have time to fit in.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's there because there's something going on with her company and
Yeah, it's like
the
they
whole
they
creation of the system.
they,
So,
they need her for the main storyline, but I don't know.
but she's not fleshed out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Except for that one episode where she has a sleepover and you find out that her friend, became too is in vegetative state because she became too interested in suicide. So there's again that it fits the theme, but it seems kind of a hammer, not a scalpel, right? So, but anyway, yeah, I would still recommend it at this point. If I really hate the last episode, I might not, but I'm always a fan of original works.
and this is on Funimation streaming platform. So for those who have that,
Thanks.
all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next title. We got, which I don't know when this came out. It wasn't on my list for some reason, but Lad Love.
The first 6 episodes came out on February 14th, I want to say. They were all just dumped on Crunchyroll. And then the last 6 came out a little later than that. It was a really odd release, which is in keeping with the show as a whole. I only watched 3 episodes, and I went into this one kind of blind, except for the very basic premise. So, the opening sequence is probably my favorite opening that I've seen all year. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Loaded with a lot of symbols and interesting artwork. I thought, oh man, this is going to be great. It has absolutely nothing to do with the anime. It's not the same art style. It's not even the same tone. I don't know why they made that decision. And that kind of sums up my opinion on this, is that the creative decisions are all very odd. And maybe they're playing a big brain strategy that I just can't grasp, but I don't get it. I just do not get this show at all. The ending theme is also very gothic, dark, with the classic blue roses and, gothic imagery and stuff. Once again, it has no bearing on the content of the show, which is a slapstick, mile a minute, very 90s-ish style comedy. And I just didn't really know what to think, because I had whiplash through the whole experience. Yeah, did anyone else watch this one, or am I the only one stupid enough to try it? Let's see.
I
Looks
think
like
you're the only one.
John, did you watch part of it?
I only saw the first episode of this.
Okay.
It's more like I had to see it because Mamoru Oshii is one of my favorite anime creators, like period. But he's kind of he hasn't, his golden era was in the 90s when he was making stuff like Ghost in the Shell and the Pat Labor movies, and he kind of hasn't made anything good in a long time. And it seems like for Vlad Love, he reunited with another director, and those guys made Urusei Yatsura, the TV show, way back in the day. So I kind of went in expecting like a old man sort of anime comedy, and that's kind of what it was. I don't know.
Bit, yeah, and well, there's an odd directorial choice too, where in the frame there'll be multiple cameras. I guess is the only way I can describe it. And there's one other anime director. He did the Sayuki series, the first one in the 90s, who would do this a lot, where you have frames next to other frames, and sometimes overlaying another one, and it doesn't look that great, and I don't really see the point in a necessarily. Just, I don't know. It's weird. I would say watch the opening because it's gorgeous. Don't stay for the rest, because I wasn't laughing in a comedy, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's rated pretty poorly.
What's the number?
6.05.
Oh, jeez.
hey,
Wait, it's less than the Rapey McRape show?
Uh-huh.
Holy cow.
So maybe if every story arc ended in a rape, it could have bumped that score up higher.
Yeah.
I got the impression that like this show isn't made for us. This is made for them. This is just two old men who are kind of done with anime. They're like, hey, what if we just do one more thing just for fun? And and they don't care about like making a profound work of pop entertainment or anything. They're just making some bullshit to entertain themselves, and they somehow convince some producers to like give them money to do that.
Yeah. Here you go. Someone wrote, Lad Love, a show full of simps, made for simps, and brought into life by a genius team full of simps. This is Mamoru Oshii's shitposting on modern anime culture. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So it actually has nothing to do with blood donation, I take it, because that's
well,
just the premise.
it has everything to do with blood donations. Is that
Mm,
that's they live the main character goes to a school where everybody is secretly has a fetish for giving blood,
mm, I see.
which yeah.
Yeah, I only give plasma, so yes. That was in real life. I'm a regular blood donor or plasma donor.
I used to give blood a
So,
lot.
Well, in Vladlove they have a point card system, so.
mm. Well, it all depends, right? Because in a unit of blood, a whole blood, you can a unit will plug into one person. For plasma, what they take out of you counts as 2.5 units, I believe. Uh, Plasma is the liquid portion. Um, because of my blood type, my plasma is actually more valuable than my whole blood. That's what I've been doing, although it takes longer.
Hmm.
And it looks like I'm a drug user because I have all these track marks now. But yeah. Anyway, that's something in real life I do.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So
Next.
next title we got is, let me see if I can read this. Isekai Picnic.
No.
Close enough.
I'm sorry. Urasekai Picnic.
I mean, you're not wrong that they're going to an isekai, but they go back and forth. But, I think Jessica and I watched it. Is that right?
Mhm.
Anzi watched it. No, Vinny watched it. Some of it, all of it. Did you guys finish it?
I did not. I accidentally marked down that I did,
No.
but I got to episode 8, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, the middle part's a little bit slow. I gotta say.
Yeah.
Is this the Yuri
So
title?
yeah, kind of, but
If
they
you,
don't
squint
really
your
push
eyes.
that. Yeah, I mean, there's hints of it, but not. They don't do anything with it. So two girls, Sorao and Tokiko. Sorao looks androgynous, from the get go. They meet in this other world, which is kind of like a mirror verse. Through rituals and strange locations, you can sometimes pass into this Urasakai, the other world. And they have an encounter there. And Tokiko, the blonde haired girl, has been searching for her mentor in the Urasakai, although it's clear that there's something else going on too. So it's just a series of adventures. It is based on a light novel series. The two get very close sometimes, but I think Sorao is more interested in Tokiko. Tokiko has been following this her missing mentor for quite some time, so there's something going on there. Um, and it ends up at one point they meet uh, an American military unit who is stationed in Okinawa, but during exercise ended up uh, in this other world, and it's not like a squad or a platoon. It's a large number of them with vehicles and base camp and everything, from which they escape because things kind of start going haywire, and then later on they go back and decide to try to rescue them. So that's the end of the story arc for the season. And overall, I watched it, but I was not watching it religiously. I finished it for last week. Yeah, I finished it last week. Just catch up on the last couple of episodes, and it's not bad, but it's not great either. So it's just kind of, it was okay, but uh, adventure continues. Nothing is really resolved. Um, and their relationship is kind of still up in the air. You know? And despite adding a few new characters, they don't add to the dynamic of the girls in the Urasekai. So your mileage may vary, as they say. I can't really recommend it if you're just start for Yuri. This is not the one. Vinny, anything from you? Did you finish it?
No, I didn't get far enough. It was one of those that I watched the first 2 episodes and kind of, I think I'm just gonna hold it up and watch something else. I never came back for it. So it didn't really leave much strong impression of anything really. So I can't really comment beyond that.
Yeah, it seems to lack a strong focus, and it's probably because the original source material is not finished, and I'm not sure where it's going. So, uh, it's again, it's not bad, but it's not great. There are scenes where Sorao, the boyish girl, ends up with one of her eyes ends up changing color that allows her to see things in the Urasekai, hidden things in the Urasekai. But the anime keeps changing the color of her eyes, and it turns out she's been wearing color contacts, but it's not made clear when she is and when she isn't. So it just looks like, oh, I lost my color contact, or did she? So, um, yeah, the small details are missing. Some of the 3D CG is a little bit wonky. Um, you know, uh, yeah, that I don't have a lot more to say.
I sort of have the same feelings too. Just very middle of the road. It doesn't really stand out. I like the premise. That's kind of cool, but I feel like I'm getting dragged along and that most of the episodes are filler. Um, and a lot of the decisions that the girls make are very fairy tale ish. You know how people in fairy tales operate on
Mhm.
a different logical thought process because the sergeant says, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't use your cell phones."
So they do.
So they do, and it's just you would think that two young women that spend the majority of their free time going into the other world and knowing how dangerous it is would listen and not use their smartphones. So
They're
just
they're
stuff like
they're
that kind of rankled me
Berkshire,
a bit.
right? Yeah, and they're not in high school. They're actually college
College,
students,
right? They're college
right?
students.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause she's going to university. So eh, there in the season for winter season was chock full of really really outstanding anime. So there are plenty of other things you should be watching.
yes.
Although I will mention that Sorao was voiced by Yumiri Hanamori, who is the voice of Nadeshiko in Eurocamp, and she also voiced Lloyd in Last Dungeon this season. So she had 3 shows, being pretty popular. Anyway, next.
Okay, give me 1 second. Next up, we have. I'm kind of curious about this because I thought people had high expectations for this, which was The Promised Neverland.
Oh,
Ooh,
So I thought there was high
yes, I heard
expectations
of.
from the first season, but what happened? What
No.
So I was too busy to watch it, right? Because I had too many other shows. So I just put it on the back burner. And basically, someone recently said, yes, it was the Broken Promise Neverland. So someone else told me what happened this season or how it went wrong.
I don't know if anyone can say because no one else finished it either, according to the spreadsheet. I saw up to maybe episode 4 or 5 or so.
That's where I stopped too, but I heard about the kerfuffle, and dumpster fires attract me like a moth to a flame.
Hmm.
And so my dumpster moth senses were tingling, and I looked it up. They basically ended the last episode with a slideshow.
Yeah.
Very limited animation, 100% exposition, and then this happened, and then this happened. Um, I think they condensed over 100 chapters of manga into just a handful of episodes.
I can share with you guys. I read the manga
Ah,
when it was being released. I followed the story, um, and I can definitely say that they broke entirely the entire story with the anime. It was a pure execution of everything. They condensed like 3 or 4 seasons into 8 episodes worth of anime, and it's so sad to me because if you have time to read the manga, I would definitely recommend this. It's amazing, and what they did with the anime is just it's sad. There's no more words to it.
Mm.
What they did on the first season is pretty good job. That's why I had high hopes for the second season. They ended the second season with very good quality in general. The animation was great. The opening and the ending. The songs are one of my favorites for the entire season. Um, but story regarding, they literally killed it in episode 4, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't recommend the anime at all.
I mean, it's really weird because the studio remained Cloverworks, produced by Aniplex. So what the hell happened? Because it's
Yeah,
uh, first
it was
season eight,
announced.
yeah, first season 8.63, second season 5.77.
As
It was
purely in
announced before. The author wanted to change the anime because he wasn't happy with the course of the manga, and there were high expectations on how the story was going to be. But in the end, apparently he decided to end everything in one season. So, and yeah,
Wow.
like the very last episode is literally just a slideshow of how everything ended once the story just finishes.
well, by description, I guess I'm glad I didn't get that far. I got up to the point where they introduced a pivotal character at the very end of the episode, and I didn't watch further than that. So maybe maybe that's just as well that I don't
Mm.
finish the rest of
And one of the
Neverland.
most depressing things is that they decided to cut the story in the anime where the two most fun arcs start in the manga. So they literally threw away the best part of the manga into the trash. I'm so salty with this anime. The opening and the ending are so good, are great. I love them. But yeah, anime, uh, nope.
As someone who's purely seen the anime, like even the well animated version of this season will not be good because like compared to the first season where like in the first episode of the first season it introduces a hook and you have a good sense of like what the rest of the thing is going to be about. It's like okay, they're on the monster farm, they have to escape the farm, and you know and there's a mystery in this place, and they need to solve the mystery, and so on and so forth. Where in this season, it didn't know what its hook was. You know, I was just watching it, just with a puzzled look on my face. I'm like, when is something going to happen? And then they get to this like home base, this underground home base, and it looks like there's a mystery there, and you're starting to commit like all the rooms in this place to memory because it seems important, right? And then the next episode they fuck right off, and they're in another place,
Mhm.
and I still, you know, and then you're just back in that place of like, what's the hook? What is the season about? They don't know. I don't know. You know,
Okay, so one thing
it
that
was
happens in the story is everything that you saw in the first season has almost no sense with what's coming up in the upcoming arcs. So if you don't like how until the point that you left, if you don't like how it's going on, you're probably not gonna like the upcoming story. I feel like it's pretty good. It's solid. But in that case, you should read the manga. And the anime, no.
yeah. I've definitely read the manga from lots of people. Like when season 2 started turning pretty sour.
Yeah. I actually was curious how they were going to develop because I was already down. I knew it wasn't going to be a good anime, but I kept watching it and to see how it was going to turn out. Um, but it was pure torture to me having to watch those extra episodes.
You know, sometimes I've fantasized about a magazine, and the premise is we're gonna kidnap an anime creator, and then we're gonna pump him full of truth serum, and then we're gonna take notes. And you know, and then you'll have like crazy articles. They're like, oh yeah, Wonder Egg, you know, it's gonna be 24 episodes, but then you know we had a dispute with this or that stakeholder, and then we lost like half of the money, and then we had to smash it down. You know, like I wonder, you know, like those are the things that you'll never ever know about, you know, anime productions or even like any creative production unless it's like 30 years later and someone just spills the beans because who cares?
Mhm.
But you know, there's probably stories behind things like Wonder Egg and uh, this thing, Neverland season 2,
Yeah.
and we'll never know why. And I guess I guess they have that for like video games sometimes. Like sometimes you hear about like high profile video games, but that's because like, you know, way more money goes into them. There's way more people involved. There's actual journalists trying to get the inside scoop on these productions. But, you know, anime is like too small fry for that. So we don't get those kind of stories about like how this anime or that anime production failed.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep working in the industry, you can't spill the beans.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, for something like, say, Red Dead Redemption 2 or something that has, like, 2,000 people who worked on it, then, you know, the potential
someone's gonna
for...
crack.
Yeah. Like, someone's going to start talking about the toxic work environment or something. Or, like, how this or that producer, like, made insane decisions and...
The people for Wonderland were like, we'll fix it in the Blu-rays.
I actually hope they somehow fix it. Something like how's it called? Full Metal Alchemist that they
Oh, a remake?
relaunched the series. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they do that at some point because the story
Mm.
should have been amazing.
Yeah, they should just restart it all, put an eye patch on the main character.
Yeah, at this point, I've fallen all the way off the train, so I don't know if I can get back on unless they say, like, this is the reboot. It's going to be good this time. And it's like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the manga.
I might do that. I might.
It may take years. Like, what was that one show that they did a remake that people are now loving? With the 12
Fruits
Beasts.
basket.
Yeah. Pretty
Oh wow, I nailed it.
I
And I,
think the manga of this one is like 180 chapters. I don't really remember. It finished a while ago.
Hmm.
Alright. Let's all take a break from this and go camping. Yuri Camp. I mean, this was perfect, right? Because don't all these camping things take place in winter?
Yeah, it does. It's mainly in the winter. So, your camp season 2. I mean, what is there to say? But it is. Let's see, app window. No, screen one. It is about the lonely pine cone. No, I'm kidding. So not about the pine cone, but
Mhm.
it's about cute girls doing cute things, and in this, it's camping. And the thing is, it's actually gone beyond just the anime world and has had a significant impact on camping culture in Japan. Um, there are many more people who are camping. They have bought gear. It's created a mini boom of collaboration goods or things that you would use in camping, not hardcore like backpacking, but these are front end camping. So you would use a car and go to a campsite, but it's very different kind of feel than what you might do at your local state park. And right from the get go, episode 1 is like a flashback to Rin's early days when she just started camping and has to learn about these things, and didn't even know how to put up the tent that her grandfather gave her to get her into camping. And as you know, Nadeshko, um, you would meet Nadeshko in season 1, and she comes from a different prefecture, just moved, a new girl, and antics happen as they go and meet the other girls in the club and meet their teacher, who is rather fond of alcohol and drinking. But there are beautiful sceneries like this in the anime, and these are actual locations in Japan that the animators specifically went to, especially the art people, to uh, to capture that exact moment. So they would visit these sites in the time frame. And this is, when the first season dropped, it was in production for a really long time, really unusual. It was almost like a year before. And so they actually went to in the winter to these various spots to film, and you can kind of see the love and dedication and the production schedule that they were able to maintain in doing all of this. There's the grandfather girls were there when they have their little super deformed look to their chibi characters. It's just it's just wholesome. So this time they had, I think, only two. Well, they did the day camp episode in episode 1. So the actual number of times they went camping seems to be slightly less. They've also included a lot more things to do outside of just being in the camp. So touristy things like hitting up the geo spots, tourism, good places for famous local food, eateries, restaurants, that kind of thing. Souvenir shops, tea shops, cafes, and it's just really enjoyable. I love the show, and I have all the manga digitally. But yeah, it's just fantastically good and fun to watch. Every episode I've watched twice already, some of them 3 times. So I highly recommend Eurocamp season 2. And the music also, the opening and the ED. I think the opening is not as strong as the first season's, but I love the ending song.
Let me see. Did anyone else watch this?
Me,
Who's that? Oh, Vinny.
yeah, I'll just say that just a little bit on the series. I mean, given that this is a second season of a continuation from the first seasons, naturally there's some expected shift in focus. First season spent a lot of times explaining camping terms and all those items that for those who doesn't camp or doesn't know anything about camp would find it to be interesting educational learning experience. You know, how they break the pole and how to fix the camper and all that. Second season really doesn't mention any of that since it's assumed that by now you know what's going on, so they don't try to revisit that. They shift the focus more towards the things that you can do while you're traveling. As Albert mentions about Geospot, there's quite a bit of that, and the food, focusing on local food. But there's really, I mean, if you watch this first season and enjoyed it, pretty sure most people will pick up the second season, and because I'm just waiting for second season to come along. And when they did kind of a teaser type of a hair camp in between, I was like, oh man, I was waiting for the full season, not just like little tiny bits of things. Um, it looks great. There's really nothing to complain about that. And as Albert says, theme is great. Opening, it's okay, not much so. And this is a series that extracted quite a bit of money out of me, thanks to all the merchandise stuff. I ended up buying a couple of figures with the Shima main, with moped and this aforementioned backpack that also worked as a folding chair.
Nice.
Yeah, I ended up getting that. I kind of half gave up on it when it was initially sold out, and I realized that most places don't really ship it to here. Then they kind of reopened and I jumped on it without even giving a second thought. So my wallet's
Mm.
first of it, but not gonna regret it. But yeah,
Yeah, I only have the Nendroid, the first Nendroid. There's a second one out with her moped, and I really wanted that, but I missed the ordering window, so I'm really sad.
figure it might come back as a re-release. They seem to do that from time to times. But yeah, it's one of those things that I don't want to hit the secondary market because they're gonna just jack up the price to death, and I'm not
Well, yeah,
exactly.
here. I think next time in Japan, I might go looking for it.
Yeah, that would. But
But
yeah, I just.
yeah, it's just enjoyable. Here, I'll show you one more. Share screen. Screen one. There you go. There's my little Nendroid, Shimaren, that I took with me on camping. So I am actually snowshoe backpacked into a campsite, and that is actual snow that she's sitting on.
Oh,
Nice photo.
so
Thanks.
cute.
It's super
Yeah.
cute.
So
Nice. Um, can you just hop into this, or is it still like a continuation? So you need to watch the first season.
yeah, you should watch the first season. I
Yeah.
mean, it's only 12 episodes. It's super easy
So
to get
long.
into. So
Yeah, it just makes more sense to start from the first season since second season really doesn't have any of this recap episode of explaining anything. You just they assume that you watch the first season, you know who those characters are, and there's really no additional characters thrown into the second season anyway, other than some bit parts that kind of comes by, blah blah blah. shop owner who was also ended up in a camp that saved the bacons of those two girls trapped in this really, really cold night, but nothing major. So
So, yeah, one of these days I'd like to go visit some of these locations that were featured in the series, and you maybe I'll be able to take enough camping gear to go camp at one of these.
in a moped,
And I mean,
car.
I'm not sure. I probably could rent a moped. I mean, yeah, I think so. But a lot of places, like in the season one, you saw places that they could go to by taking the train and the bus and walking. Um, so I could do that. Just like I've gone hiking in Japan after watching Yamano Susume, which is encouragement of climb. Not to any of the mountains they've done, except for Mount Fuji, which I did I think when I was in seventh grade. I did do that. Um, but yeah, um, highly recommend it. Watch from season one, and there's two seasons out, and based on popularity, I'm sure there will be a season three at some point. So
Just gotta wait till next winter.
Probably 2 seasons from here on. I mean, two
yeah,
years.
probably.
All right. Thank you guys.
Okay.
For our next title, maybe our last. We'll see. We got.
I've got to go, so I will say goodbye to people. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
You're so young. Wait, what happened to Jessica?
Just left.
Without a word. Or did I
She
miss
did
it?
afterwards.
Oh, I'm not paying attention. I feel bad. Okay. Well, next up we have is Violet Evergarden, the movie. The movie,
Christ.
which came out like at the beginning of this month, and I don't know if it's still out in theaters. I think maybe one more week or so, maybe.
I don't
In
think
some
so.
places, I don't know. Who knows?
I think tonight might be the last night for some place.
Yes, but just in case, spoilers. There will be spoilers here, and someone said the Blu-rays are coming out sometime in July, or what was that? July, June?
August.
Where'd I get July
August.
from?
Hmm?
That's so long. It's like
Can't
4
wait that
months.
long.
Oh man. But yeah, so we got Violet Evergarden. Do 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 do. So I got to see this in theaters, and I was actually taken by surprise. It was like the weekend. Someone told me, "Oh, yeah, the movie's coming out." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh no, it's in theaters in 2 days. I have to
I meant
I have to work." So I was able to get the day off, and then ran straight to the theater, like a little child. Yay! I'm so excited, so happy. Actually, the thing that surprised me the most about it, honestly, was when it was aired, because it's usually like around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night over here, where when they play anime, and it was actually pretty early when they uh, showed this in my theater. But yeah. So let me put this up here again. Spoilers for Violet Evergarden. If you guys want to get the full experience for yourself, you have to wait till August now. Or watch a really bad rip. I bet there's probably some really bad rips out there.
there is. Not recommended.
Not recommended because this show is beautiful. I mean, right when I saw that, the Earth passing by, then the KyoAni symbol flashing at the bottom. It's like tears,
Tears dropping.
yeah, tears welded up. I was like, plus it's been so long since I've been in a theater to watch a movie. I was like,
Yeah.
good thing that I have this mask on so they don't see my ugly crying face. But it was wonderful. Oh my god. Um, though I will have to say, you need to watch the full season and maybe one of the OVAs. I think
Yeah.
to fully enjoy this because they do reference a lot of the events that happened, and I think only the last movie that they put out in theaters is the only thing that they didn't have any reference to in the movie.
Well, because that's really side story more than anything. It's kind
Yeah,
of.
so you can kind of skip that if you want to, so it won't hurt you. But everything else you need to watch 100% because they go back to it very much. So and I was kind of shocked by how they told the story because I was kind of expecting it just to roll into a continuation of how everything went, the story and everything. But instead, the whole story, although it was told and shared with us very well, it was more like someone telling a story of the past, of what of things that happened. Because
That
we're
was a surprising part to me.
yeah, so we actually were I don't know how far into the future we are, probably maybe I would say 70 years past what we've already seen because we now see the granddaughter of this one character that we know Violet met as a child, and she's at least maybe in her teens, right? Like 16, 17.
Well, well, actually, when that episode took place, she was around 7 or so. She was right, yeah, because her mother was writing what yearly birthday letter for up to 50, and I think she was about 7 years old when Violet turned 5 with Hunger. And since this timeline technically takes place from the time when that little girl is, turned to grandma and passed away, so safe to say about 60 plus years has passed by since. Although I know this is sort of a fantasy European setting with a lot of mismatched things thrown in there in terms of technological timepieces. So when you look at that modern day, when the granddaughter is starting her journey to retrace back, when you look at some of the surroundings, it really makes you wonder: is that just how long has it been passed since the original timeline? Because car does not look like something that belongs in a timeline. Because those cars looks like something that you expect to see in the 1950s and maybe early 1960s, but not. Because based on the timeline that you expected, you were expecting to see more of a ugly looking 80s cars or 90s cars. So that kind of threw me off a bit at the beginning. But then, as the story unfolded, it kind of forgot all about it and just went to look for where's my tissue paper.
Yeah, the other thing that actually surprised me a little too was that they also focused a lot on the change of the time because I never really paid much attention to it when it came to the series, but when it came to this movie, I now noticed how far back in technology they were to the point where they're even showing that this guy was losing his job to light candles for the lamps due to electricity or lights being put into these lamps now. And certain things that were just changing the way the world was going to be moving forward. So, um, it kind of made me realize, well, they were actually pretty far back in technology from what I thought was happening because I guess I was always disillusioned by the high tech robotic arm she had. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So once I
That's a
saw,
bit of anomaly.
yeah, so when I saw that, that was it's kind of interesting to see how things were changing in movie. And I think this show can be kind of split into two different ways, maybe even three ways. First, you have the story with the granddaughter and her journey. Second, you have the story with what was his name, Eulith,
Hmm.
Mm.
and then the third one is the story that centers around Violet. And um, I don't want to get too much of a heavy spoiler, probably, but Violet and how her story ends. I would say that much.
One and only.
So it's kind of split into those three sections, um, mainly focusing at the beginning with Eulith, and then the later part with Violet, and then the granddaughter was kind of pit in between everything as she was learning the stories of what happened to this doll, right? This mysterious doll that was so popular, and the reason she was following her was because of the letter she found of her grandmother. And I've heard some people say that I think it was you, Anzi, was it? That you weren't too interested in the romance part.
Yeah. To me, the most interesting part was the Julius story. Like, I guess we've been waiting so long for Violet's story to end or to conclude in some way. But to me, it wasn't the main point of the movie. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
But it was I found kind of a movie to be um, very fun and kind of it seemed to because of the granddaughter follow the path of like how the other episodes went about because like it always seemed to me that at the beginning of Evergarden all the stories were about how other people interacted and used their time with Violet. It wasn't ever Violet's story. It was always this is how I
Yeah.
met this person. This is how this mysterious person came and helped me, which was Violet, of course. So this one with the granddaughter showing up and being the main like storyteller of everything that's going on, kind of kept it to that whole storytelling of how the series went. And so that's why when it got towards the end with the whole, I guess you would say the romance part, it I don't know if people didn't like it, but to me, I loved it. I mean, I like
It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I still liked it, but to me, it wasn't the strongest story or part in the movie. But that's me. When the movie first started, um, like you get to remember what happened in the anime, and that's also very impactful. Whenever you get to remember like past stories, um, that was actually a pretty good experience for me. And I don't know. I feel like I got the reason why the main romance part wasn't that impactful is because I felt like it didn't it didn't went it didn't go straight to the point, and it tried to like uh find excuses for it to conclude.
hmm. What about you, Vinny? What was the part that you liked the most, or what stood out for you?
Let's see. I personally liked how the romantic ending. or Endgame, well, unfolded. Because if you really wanted Violet to have a happy ending, I'm pretty sure most fans felt that way. Is that there's really only one outcome to give you that ending, and after dropping hints so many times that Major may not have a perished as everybody, pretty much everybody but Violet has believed, there's really only one way to end, and I just like the fact that it took time to give you that ending that she deserved. It wasn't just have that encounter and everything just magically dissolves into one big happy ending. There's a Some people might feel that it was kind of dragged on needlessly, but then given how much of psychological torture that she was in through and how this whole series is focusing on her personal development. Because after the movie, I went to rewatch the series again, and I didn't realize how robotic she was at the very beginning. So for them to give a proper ending that involves not just straight to the dash line ending, but kind of goes around in circle. They're kind of about doing this awkward square dancing for a while, but given her personality and how much this backstory has gone through, and the fact, well, I mean, she was a child soldier with a very much damaged psyche and done with growth. It makes more sense for her to not being able to reach out and just grasp what she wanted right away, and the whole hesitancy of the major as to why he wasn't trying to not reaching out for her. I felt that did more to deliver the ending here instead of just cut to the chase and get it done.
The one thing I did appreciate about the movie is that it kind of also tried to flesh out the this one character, which was I can't remember his name, but I just know him as the Major's brother.
Mm.
They actually gave us a lot more information on him and why he acted the way he did, or the way he acts. Because throughout the series, you do see him, you do meet him from time to time, and he's very harsh, and he's like this, this guy that you just can't agree with, right? With what he's done. But they kind of somewhat flesh him out and even change him a little bit into someone that I can kind of see like, this guy isn't so bad as I thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely made him much more likable. Because for the longest time, and because in the series, he doesn't really show up other than at the very beginning, kind of gives us your starting point, and then in the middle of it, just as when Viola was kind of learning to be human, kind of throws a big bucket of cold water at her, and towards the end, when she ended up getting dragged into this whole incident that's gonna bring out the war again, throughout the whole TV series, yeah, he wasn't very likable character. Kind of softens up to a certain degree, but not enough to really make you say, "Oh yeah, deep down is that he's a good person." But as you mentioned that in the movie, he does make out to be a lot more likable character. I don't know whether he deserves to be treated such, but it works out. So
So I think at the beginning, I don't think he really deserved it, but it just goes to show that Violet has changed so much that it's also changed him. Because I don't think he would have been as likable without Violet and her influence to him. Because he always believed that she isn't a person, or she can't have feelings, and she's not this certain way. But I think at the end of the whole war thing that you were talking about, he kind of was changing his thought process on who she really is, and then the movie kind of fleshed that out even more as he saw how she's not just this, I guess, doll, right?
Right. I mean that whole visiting the graveyards does help out his impression towards Violet, and I like the fact that how he was able to use that to motivate the Major to reach out and get the message across. Feels like a kind of like a bit of a redemption in his own part, personal level. It's being played out among many others.
So my only other question is because I swear to God, as I heard the ending theme of Violet Evergarden in the movie, a tear just fell out of my
Yeah.
eye. Like I admit what was happening on screen was very impactful, but just that music at that moment, I was like, oh my God, why are you doing this to me? It was just so moving, and there's only
Yeah,
been a few other songs that I could say that right when it started playing that I was like, oh no, I can feel the tear coming. And
did it did it feel like 140 minutes to you? Because it really didn't feel like that long.
I thought it felt pretty long,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
know,
it did.
yeah.
I don't know. Towards the end of the movie, I kind of felt like, man, I think I could watch a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know
But
how in the conventional movies, after the ending credit, there's like a little bit of like a little spoof or sort of like a side story kind of throws in. I was kind of hoping for it, even though I know that's not gonna happen.
shh, be quiet, stupid phone. You have any questions, Sean, or
Nope.
you gonna wait till you watch it yourself?
Yeah, I was kind of trying to zone out the conversation as much as possible. Unfortunately, I didn't uh,
Oops.
absorb any spoilers.
That's good. Or I don't know how to. I hope you forget everything by in 4 months.
Yeah.
Just beware of YouTube thumbnails, I guess, right? Because they post spoilers everywhere nowadays.
Forget everything. Just grab a box of tissue. That's all you have to remember.
Yeah. I think Sean's learned his lesson on wikis, right? When he did his SOL or no, Sword Art Online SAO.
Oh right, yeah,
Who's
yeah.
this guy?
I just wanted to Google that character, and then it's like,
I,
oh, he's the creator of the game. Oh great, I just
oh,
spoiled it.
oh crap.
Yeah, I googled like Heathcliff from Sword Art Online.
Oh,
That was like only 2 episodes in or something, right? Or, I don't know.
that's a huge spoiler.
But yeah. But ah, high quality movie. I would say the only thing I thought was really weird is that they did a lot of these one scenes with this paper that's flying throughout everywhere. Kind of like how the series started with a
Oh
piece of
yeah.
Oh
paper
yeah.
flying. And the only other thing I thought, which I kind of enjoyed, was that they didn't do too many um, recap stuff. Cause like I remember watching Anohana, and there was so much recaps, so much things that they went back to the series to show you again. And I'm like, oh my god, there's basically no new content.
How to pump out more stuff without putting any efforts.
But this movie was decent. It gave you enough It didn't really recap anything. It just showed you some certain moments, and
Yeah, you kind of have to give a little bit flashback in terms of the granddaughter's memory of her grandmother. I think those are necessary, but I don't think they went crazy with trying to re-establish the legacy of a Violet in terms of recap. There's some parts that kind of mentioned it about things that she did, all that, but not, you know.
I didn't watch the movie that came before this one. Which movie is better?
This one.
This one.
Okay.
This one.
The other one seemed like it was just two episodes put together that told
Yeah.
Yeah.
a story. So, and the story had really nothing to do with the actual series, I think.
Okay.
So you don't even really need to watch it. I mean, I don't even know if I want to say it was a great story. It was just a story.
It's like extended OBA, like episode 15 and 16 ish.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I liked it enough, and it has a funny moments of Violet trying to balance like a couple stacks of books on top of her head, and things like that. But it's not doesn't have any impact on storylines.
yeah. I can't say I really cried at that
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those movies that wanted to make you get the feels. It was just like, yeah, here's something to get you, through this time until we can get that main movie out there for you.
Mm.
But yeah. Um,
So next, I think the next project for Q2 animation is the second season of Maid Dragon. It's Kobayashi's Dragon Maid
Yeah.
number seasons.
when's the movie coming out?
Movie?
Jesus.
I don't know about the movie.
They
So
need a
that
movie. No, I'm just kidding.
uh,
Did that show come from the director that died in the fire?
uh, he did some episodes on the Maker, and he also did some of the Violet Evergarden too.
Okay, but he wasn't the chief director.
No,
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think that'll be it for today. What do you guys say?
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still quite a few titles. I don't know if we'll go into discussing them, but just to call it out there for everyone, Heaven's Feel.
The final of the trilogy, the concluding whatever.
Yeah, Heaven's Feel or Not Feel, however they say that in the Evangelion
Not feel.
thing.
I bought the ticket for that movie, and I ended up canceling it. Georgie was going through the third wave of hell.
Hmm.
I wasn't feeling safe at the time anymore.
So we got that. That's came out. So people. We also don't forget that there was. Let me see what other shows that people here watch. The Imagine someone from the last dungeon came to Starter Town or something like that, which was fantasy. ReZero finished finally the second season.
Oh yeah.
I didn't watch the final episode, but I mean it was. It concluded, and I would say
Yeah.
it was okay, but it. I don't know. I think it lost all the hype from being split.
Yeah. Final episode doesn't like. I think half of the final episode doesn't really mean that much.
Mm-hmm. There was
First
also
season made me not want to watch the second.
there was also that other isekai, the Mahotsukai Tensei, whatever you want to call that.
Ah,
The,
Slime?
the jobless reincarnation.
Oh, that
Yeah, that one actually is whew, good quality, but I don't know. It was weird. It was decent enough. I'm surprised not too many people watched that. And then we had this slime season 2 part 1. Now we gotta wait for I think another time for the next season. Some surprised that Hiromiya. Not too many people here didn't watch it, but I just wasn't in the mood for a like angsty teenagers and romance. For me, it's Hiro or Miyamura, whatever his name was. I love their story together, and with everyone else's thing going on, I was like, I don't care. I didn't watch it.
the Sean is the only one who watched the Beastar season 2, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
That's on
feel
Netflix,
like-
right?
Yeah, I mean it's on a Nya Torrance fan sub. If you actually want to watch it, I don't know if it's on Netflix right now. I don't have Netflix, but yeah, it's ostensibly a Netflix show.
The final season, supposedly, of what's this, Titan?
Attack on Titan.
It hasn't finished yet.
Oh, really?
So the
Yeah.
manga ended and people are fucking mad.
Yeah.
I gotta read what people are saying now.
I don't read the manga, but a friend of mine described the ending to me and I laughed.
Spoil me. What happened? I don't read it.
They were in the Matrix the whole time.
What?
It has a really cheap ending. It's not that they were in the Matrix or it was all a dream, but it's kind of like that. There's something that's kind of like cheap and unbelievable about the way it ends.
And then, what else was there? I thought some other shows would be popular, but it looks like not too many other shows became too popular. So, I guess we'll conclude to that, and hopefully you'll join us in 2 weeks or so as we talk about the start of the spring season. This one actually has a lot of shows that I'm very interested in.
Actually,
So-
from this season, I have no idea what I'm gonna watch.
So I'm somewhat excited about at least 4 shows. And other than that, there's that Demon Slayer movie that's coming out
Yes.
in 2 weeks or so. So you can purchase your tickets if your theaters are opened right now in some areas. I don't know what other movies are going to be coming out soon, but hopefully as this crisis passes us by, we get more movies again.
Yeah, hopefully Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want goodies again. Whatever happened to the goodies?
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
want my posters.
It's like theater swag, yeah.
Yeah,
Even those tiny postcard. Postcard.
yeah,
I miss that.
I know. I even treasure my Liz and the Bluebird postcard thingy It's like, oh snap, I got these. But,
At least you got yourself a mistyped ticket.
yeah.
You don't even have a ticket anymore. It's all contactless happening here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for people who don't, I went to watch Violet Evergarden. Yeah, it's actually Violent Evergarden, not Violet. Violent.
Yeah, we were wrong the whole time.
Or maybe I watched a different movie from you all. Oh snap. Maybe that's it. But thank you all for joining us. If you want to join us in our discussions, please send us a message. We'll be more than willing to let you join us, have a nice discussion. Thank you, Anzi, for our newcomer, for being here. I hope to see you in future gatherings as well.
So when are we doing the spring season one?
I think in 2 weeks, because I think that's when most of the 3rd episodes are already be out, right?
Okay.
But yeah, thank you, Anzi.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we like hearing new opinions. Too bad this season wasn't like great, but hopefully this next season we can find a lot of shows that all of us have seen all together because we were all spread out this season. It's a lot funner when all of us watch the same stuff and we can just rag on it, being like, this show's bad.
Putting my 2 chips on Murderous Moped for the new season.
But yeah, other than that, good night everyone, and have a wonderful spring.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Yeah, or